What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the Sixers Digest YouTube channel. My name is Sean Barnard, and the circus has arrived in the organization that we call the Philadelphia 76ers. Things look to be heating up and getting worse in regards to the James Harden situation as we have some more clarity on the standards around it. I'm about to break down where the trade holdup is, what Harden's recent actions may be indicating, and what the overall outlook is here as we're in for another holdout and frustrating situation with James Harden once again. Now, before I dive fully into it, I do want to make sure you guys are hitting the subscribe button on the channel here. As of now, 84% of you guys have not subscribed. I do very much appreciate the 16% of you that have, but I want to keep this Sixers Digest family growing. We got plenty of big plans for the regular season. Once we have some actual basketball, this James Harden situation hopefully gets sorted out soon, but I will be here every step of the way breaking things down for each and every one of you. So let's get right into the story of the day. For starters, James Harden, we know the circumstances, that this has been an ongoing process dating back to the offseason. All the comments, all the trade requests, the publicly calling Daryl Morey a liar. We've been here for start to finish, but things have gotten worse. And I'll begin by this report from Shams Charania. This was yesterday at this point that Charania jumped on the stadium show and tweeted out that while professional and engaged when present, James Harden has not attended any of the 76ers preseason games and has participated in just one team practice scrimmage over 14 days of training camp, sources say. Now, for the sake of clarity, the exact timeline here, a little bit poorly worded from Shams here, that he has not participated in a scrimmage is true, but he sat out of Sunday. He missed Monday's preseason game. Tuesday, the Sixers were off as a team, and then today, Wednesday, is when we really step into things where James Harden did not show up. So to jump into that next, we get this tweet from Shams Charania as of this morning that James Harden is a no-show at Philadelphia 76ers practice today. Sources tell The Athletic and Stadium. Harden has not been present with the team since Sunday. So as I mentioned, not exactly as clear as you would say there, that he wasn't with the team on Sunday. Monday was a scrimmage or a preseason game, which he missed out on. He was not expected to play anyway. And then Tuesday, the team was off. So he hasn't been missing as much until today, but it is still a big deal that he is missing today. Now, we know all these circumstances here, that James Harden has made it crystal clear that he wants to be traded, that he's opted into his contract, he has set the Clippers as his desired destination, and put the faith in Daryl Morey to do this. There has been no traction here. We have this report from Woj saying that teams have talked in recent days, but a sizable gap remains in the 76ers and Clippers negotiations on a James Harden trade, sources tell ESPN. There has been little movement on the deal for months. That's frustrating from Harden's perspective. I get it, but this is the reality of the situation. That this is what we have on record, this coming back from Shams Charania as a trade offer to the Sixers, that LA is offering an unprotected first-round pick, a pick swap, and salaries. That is believed to be Marcus Morris or Robert Covington in that deal. Daryl Morey is holding out for more. There's been a lot of talk about Terrence Mann being the sticking point in this deal. I don't think Terrence Mann specifically is the guy that Daryl Morey is saying, I need him or we're not going to get a deal done, but it's an example of a young player, an exciting player, another key piece that could help move the meter of this deal. That is what Daryl Morey is holding out of. Now, for James Harden, let's take a look at this situation now. What is the best outcome here from you? It's very clearly that you want to get traded. We've been over this 1,000 times now. But now by sitting out, you start subjecting yourself to these fines here. Bobby Marks of ESPN tweeting out that James Harden could be subjected to $389,000 and big number there, fine, for every preseason game and regular season game that he misses without the consent of a team. The fine would fall under, quote, failure to render services. There's also a minimal fine starting at $2,500 for missing practice. Harden's obviously not a guy that is hurting for money, but even the richest of the rich are people that don't like giving away money like this. And this puts everybody in a lose-lose situation. For James Harden, obviously, you were catching these fines, you were losing money. For the Sixers, it's not a great look for the guy that you're trying to build up this value for the intentions of having him come into camp and participate and kind of showcase him, is to build a value. By finding this guy, by him not being around, does not help with any of this. That there is no shot the Clippers or any other team across the NBA is looking at what James Harden is doing and how relationships are within the Sixers organization and saying, that's a guy that we need to empty the tank and up our offer to make sure that he's coming to our organization. And by the way, if you take a look at some of these behind-the-scenes videos in Clippers camp, which I've been kind of tuning into, Russell Westbrook is really being a positive influence. And if you want to compare things, obviously very different players, but it's clear there's like a swallowed pride from Russell Westbrook that we're not seeing with James Harden. And when they have guys like Kawhi Leonard, like Paul George, it feels like the vibes are so much better in Clippers camp. And I don't think James Harden is the piece that you add to keep that going. That this is very much a little bit of a wild card to throw into the mix there. Now, the Sixers have not declared whether they will be fining yet. There was a report from Ramona Shelburne saying that they want to talk to Harden and discuss the circumstances on why there was this unexpected absence. It was also reported by Jake Fisher that he is in Houston at this time, so it's not like he was just chilling in his Philadelphia place and didn't decide to show up. That he is all the way in Houston and has been there since Sunday. That is the same place that he was during media day. Obviously, James Harden's longtime home from all the years that he spent with the Rockets there. But you have to suit up and play in Philadelphia at this point in time. The season's right around the corner now that we are closing in. We have 8 days until the Sixers kick off against the Milwaukee Bucks, and that is really where the pressure will begin. I also want to reinforce, I've talked a lot about this kind of new clause in the CBA where if a player like James Harden withholds its services for 30 days, that the Sixers could prevent him from being a free agent. Bobby Marks also clarified in this recent string of events that does not mean just the 30 days during the start of the season. That if Harden right now decides I'm out, I'm not coming back, and this extends for a 30-day period, the same rule applies to him, that these Sixers are once again in control of his basketball destiny and where he will play next. So I do think that's noteworthy and something I did not realize until today, so thank you to Bobby Marks for that. But if Harden just does not come back to the Sixers organization ever again at this point, then the Sixers can control whatever he wants to do next. But the reason that this is a problem is it is a complete lose-lose situation. And if you're James Harden, you are just straight up misdirecting your anger right now. If you want to be mad at anyone, point at the Los Angeles Clippers right now. I get it. There's plenty of ties to the Daryl Morey, to the way things have been handled in Philadelphia. It absolutely has not been perfect. And frankly, I keep circling back to it very much depends on what those specific conversations were between Daryl Morey and James Harden individually for how I really feel about this or who is entirely in the right. But at this point in time, Daryl Morey is still holding you to a value that he believes you are. The Clippers are not reaching this value. We're not in the same position where Daryl Morey is asking for the moon and stars in a deal. That he just wants more than kind of an okay pick, a pick swap, and a guy that who knows what that salary will be. Neither Marcus Morris or Robert Covington is going to change the outlook of the Sixers team, I'll tell you that much. Would they be fine players that can contribute? Absolutely. But do they improve this team more than James Harden? No, they straight up don't, and that's what Daryl Morey is looking at. So James Harden, when he opted into his player option, and once again, this should not be flown under the radar, that this guy had a choice to be a free agent this year. If you wanted so badly out of Philadelphia, you had free reign to sign for whatever team wanted you. The problem with that being is the teams that were available did not either have cap space. The teams that potentially wanted him did not have cap space. For example, he could have signed outright for the Clippers for just about $2 million. That's a far cry for the $35 million that he will be on the books for this season. So James Harden took the approach of I would rather lock in this financial number at $35 million and then force a trade for that. Now, this does work from the Sixers' perspective, and this is where the borderline liar angle comes on, depending on how this was articulated to Harden or how the discussions went, that if it was a verbatim word for word that Daryl Morey said, if you opt in, I'll trade you, then I can kind of see where Harden's coming from and why he's upset. But I just don't see a world where that happened. I don't see how Daryl Morey could look James Harden in the eye and truthfully say that. So what was Harden's plan, or what is Harden's plan from here? It was strange how he showed up and things felt fine. That the Sixers were posting him on social media like everything was normal. Things were all these things that it was just like being overlooked. But now the reality of the situation is there has to be a conclusion. James Harden's contract will be up at the tail end of the season. That you can either swallow this, deal with this for the entire year, kind of eat out the vibes of the Sixers team, which, by the way, outside of the James Harden situation, have been fantastic. That it does feel like the team is liking each other. There's a new buzz from Nick Nurse. There's a new offense. There's a new defense. Things are clicking. Guys are competing for minutes. There's a real argument to be made that this is the deepest team in this Joel Embiid era. But there's just this James Harden cloud hanging over things. And I guess where my outlook on things has shifted a little bit is maybe it is time to just wash your hands, get rid of it, and move on. That I do think there's something to cleansing this organization of the vibes of James Harden and just moving on to the next. Are you risking upsetting Joel Embiid? For sure. And should he be a part of these conversations? Absolutely. But I don't think it is fair or the right outlook to kind of take this gap year approach to just be dealing with this all year and kind of fighting with a James Harden that obviously does not want to be here. Does these situations suck? Absolutely. Is it? Do I wish none of this was happening? For sure. But this is the reality of where these Sixers are, and they have to choose what to do. So Daryl Morey can either continue digging his heels in, be locked in a corner and waiting till he gets that value, And James Harden's obviously opposing that and dead set on doing whatever's possible to make life as miserable for these Sixers as possible, so they will eventually trade him. That's not going to help his value. The only things it's doing is really testing Daryl Morey's will. And as I've mentioned before, neither James Harden nor Daryl Morey are the type of guys that I would like to play hardball with. That I do believe both these guys, when they have their heels dug in, they're going to stick to it. So this is a little bit of a battle here. And it does concern me that Daryl Morey is going to be stubborn about this. But you have to think, this is where the analytical approach loses its sense a little bit. That yes, in a vacuum, you want to get a better value for James Harden, that you're not maximizing your assets by trading him for some mid picks and a guy like Marcus Morris or Robert Covington. But life does not exist in a vacuum, and this Sixers team has to play basketball this year. That there will be 82 games played by these Sixers, regardless of James Harden if he is here or not. So do you put the organization in a better spot by swallowing things, getting him out of here, and just at least moving on? That at least there's a little bit of hope for this season. These Sixers have an outlook for the year, that they have a game plan. They have a fighting chance. Maybe it is time to look in the mirror and think about that's the case. I understand wanting to maximize values. I understand that James Harden playing at his highest level is a better option than anyone that they can get on this market right now. But the situation is the situation, and you have to make the right call before it. I feel like we're in for a crazy stretch these next couple days. There's going to be more clarity on the fines. And by the way, this is not a Sixers choosing to fine James Harden. This is very much a legal issue with the NBA that it is in his contract that he will be fined for missing these. So it's not even like this is the Sixers coming down on him. That is just the matter of fact, and it is above the Sixers pay grade or above the Sixers responsibility for this. This is a league matter with James Harden. So this isn't the Sixers' choice. This is the reality of the situation. But we've now seen him kind of cause his first stir at training camp. I think it's very clear that these next couple days are going to go a long way in how things are handled here. Does Daryl Morey fold up, kind of toss it in and make a deal? Maybe. Does he keep digging in and we're in for a complete circus? That's on the table as well. So we will see what happens from here. But I do think these next couple days will be a crucial stretch in the James Harden saga as it pertains to the 76ers. Make sure you're sticking right here on Sixers Digest to stay with me every step of the way. I can't wait to see what's next. I have no clue what this guy is going to do at this point, but I will be here to break things down every step. So once again, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, ringing that bell so you're not missing out on any of the content right here on Sixers Digest. And let me know what you just sound off in the comments. Let it be your therapy place. Let me know what you think of James Harden and or Daryl Morey at this point in time, who you think is more in the wrong, and I'll be right back with you talking with you next time. Peace.